Welcome to the Saturday morning WikiTree LiveCast, where we round up, cover everything that's happened in the week that was WikiTree. And with us this morning is Betsy Coe, Sandy Paddock, standing in for Greg Clark, who's off doing music stuff at his church. And we also have a special guest that I haven't brought in yet, but I will show you in half a second. First off, we're going to say hey to everybody. Oh, let's bring our special guest in. You ready?
Yeah, too awesome not to. Yes.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Ah, it's Roberta Estes. What is Roberta Estes doing on a WikiTree LiveCast? Well, she's got Canadian roots. So she's coming in for the question of the week. Let me say good morning to everybody. Judy Stutz, hey, she was the first one in here, gets the winky button. And Fiera Delisi, I will never be able to pronounce your name. Let's see. Azure's here. Azure's in the background, making sure that we're running well and doing all sorts of things. And right about now, she's blasting out that Roberta is in the live cast. Let's see. D. Spencer Carr's here. Hey, Lynette Jester is also here. K Knight. Hey, Kay. Let's look and see. Vicky Blanco. Vicky has turned into quite the little stand-in person from down there in Chile. We love having you on the live cast.
Absolutely.
We do. Let's see. Azure K Knight. Lisa Gervais, who moved away from me, but still close enough to hear the Jets when they fly over on Monday. That's for Canada Day. Oh, Canada. And let's see. Let's move on down here. Mary Sleppy. Hey, Mary, Hunt cousin. Judith Fry is here. Let's see. Walking on down that list. Where's Klaus Jensen is here from Switzerland. Guten Morgen. Let's see. We got some other people. Other people are saying Yoke is here. Hey, Yoke. Kathy Bauer. Janet Isles. Hey, Janet. Love seeing your face in here in the mornings. Murray Maloney is here. Chris Ferriello is here. Let's see. Ozzy is here. Every time I have to say the name, I have to look at how he says or she says it's pronounced Ozzy. Let's see. And that's good. We've got a good group of people. While we start, our numbers are growing. If anybody would like to give us any information on your connections and everything, please post it in the chat so that we can see that. And especially if you think you might have a connection to her. Also, back here sitting around is Murph the Moose, very Canadian Murph. Yes. I was just watching pictures from my cousin. They're out at the ride. The RCMP do this special ride up on the Capitol over this weekend because it's Canada Day weekend. So lots of Canadian stuff going on this weekend for us here for sure. So, all right. Yeah, you want a moose. Yes. So we're going to start off with the question of the week, which we have coming up right here. And I'm going to move Roberta up here because she and I are going to be yaw-yakking. Why is Roberta here? Because Roberta has some great connections to Canada through her ancestors. I have great connections to Canada because I live here. I have one family that might be connected to me, that the Lambton, Ontario Genealogical Society branch is looking into. Apparently, he was the brother of one of my Gateway ancestors. So we'll see. Hey, Roberta, how are you?
Hey, I am doing just great. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And it's okay that you don't have Canadian roots because we're related through Appalachia. So,
there we go. Yeah, if you guys can, figure out how we're all related, because I think Roberta has ancestors everywhere, and she just got back from a great trip in France, where she did a little bit of research and a lot of pictures. So if you follow her on Facebook, Roberta Estes on Facebook, you should go and check out some of the stuff that she did. And we have a cheer, by the way, Roberta, is biscuits. And I see people posting biscuits because we were talking about Appalachia. So the question, the question of the week is, do you have Canadian roots? So I've got some great questions up here. Here's one from Sam Desjardins. If Desjardins isn't a good Canadian name, it's like Smith in Canada. It's Desjardins is very, very, very common. 7 out of 8 great grandparents were French Canadian, most of them in the region between 1600 and 1700. The one American great grandfather, Brayley, married a Normandin in Vermont. My parents share at least 70 ancestors, and a lot of people may not understand, but there was a lot of Canadian, Acadian influence that went all the way down the eastern seaboard through the New England section. There are parts of Maine where French is the main language. So just be aware that there's lots of stuff. And what I loved about this answer to the question was from Courtney Pratt. Here we go. WikiTree doing those connections. Yep, I instantly recognized your last name. I've seen it many times during my New England family research. My great-great-grandmother was a Normandin. But I haven't connected to her main tree yet. So we've made that connection. Maybe those two guys will get some great information. Do you have New England roots as well, Roberta?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So did your people come down from Canada into the New England area, or?
Well, yes, I have Mayflower roots also, which aren't connected to Canada, but some of my Acadian ancestors were deported into Connecticut and Maryland and basically disappear. So they're there, but they've disappeared. And then they went on to Quebec, which is how my other side of the, I have Nova Scotia heritage, and then I have Quebec heritage later, because they, around the time of the Revolutionary War, just after, they migrated to St. Jean-sur-Richelieu.
So now you've brought up something that people may not know about, and there is actually a question or an answer in the question of the week that I'm not going to cover because it gets kind of heated between a couple of people, and it's over a very heated thing. So if you want to read that, go check it out. But it is about the expulsions. Do you know everything about that, Roberta? I mean, we were talking beforehand. You were like, it is such a deep-seated issue because it was so horrible.
It was. So let me give you just a second, just a minute so people know what we're talking about.
Yes.
So the Acadians started settling Nova Scotia, the French people, in the early mid 1600s. Right. So they actually really started settling about 1632, and then the Nova Scotia went back and forth between the English and the French. There were battles, there were skirmishes, they passed back and forth, and immigration and settlement stopped from France when the English were in charge. And then when the French would be in charge again, it would start again. So they had censuses starting in 1671, fortunately for us. So because, of course, everybody wants to tax people, right? So you have to take a census. And so we have a few. And then they stopped at 1714. And then from 1714 until 1755, Acadia, which is now Nova Scotia, was back under the control of the French. And they it lasted until 1755, when the English decided that they were going to deport the French people. They took it back over. They were going to deport them, and they because they were not very compliant, and they rounded them up and put them on ships and sent them to places unknown, and families were separated. They weren't allowed to take anything. Their homesteads were burned, and they were sent to various places. Some went to the American colonies. Some of the colonies rejected, like South Carolina rejected boatloads of people. They wound up being sent to England, where they were refugees, and then they went back to Belle Isle en Mer in France. So that's where I just came back from. And fortunately for us, they did depositions that talked about their heritage so that the French king would allow them to stay and award them land and let them build there, which he did. Some of them then went to Acadia. So that's where Louisiana, the Cajuns come from, those families by and large that were deported to England and then France. Some of them came from Haiti. Some of the Acadians wound up in Haiti. So they were very, very scattered to the wind, and they tried to regroup as they could find their families. And of course, this is over a period from 1755 until I think it was 82 when they arrived in Louisiana. So my ancestors, many of them wound up in Connecticut and Maryland, New York. And those groups of people, after the 7 Years' War ended in 1763, they were allowed to go back to Canada, but not Nova Scotia. So they went to Quebec. And there's a place there called Lacadie, which is south of Montreal, where there's a settlement of Acadian descendants. So now we're talking more than 20 years, a generation, right? So we lose them in that interim period. There's some place in New England, we don't know where. We have no idea where. Occasionally there's a hint that comes up. Sometimes a DNA hint comes up. But that's kind of the story of the Acadians. They were in Nova Scotia from the mid-early 1600s to 1755. A few of them actually escaped into Canada, into New Brunswick, and some of them escaped deportation for a little longer. They were interned in camps, but it was a pretty difficult period, and it is something culturally that has stayed with the Acadian people and the descendants till today.
Oh yeah, we can see that in one of the answers this morning. I'm not showing it because it's bad. It's just there was lots of talk back and forth, and the thing is that, do you believe, Roberta, Sandy, Betsy, do you believe that we inherit trauma through our genes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so this is somebody, we have people that are living who are so very passionate still about the atrocities and the horrors that the people went through. And I mean, this is something that has happened all the time throughout life, that groups get dislocated and sent away and killed. And, is it genocide that somebody is doing this? One of the things that I've done, Chris Whitten has Nova Scotia roots. Chris should be in here this morning, but he has immigrants from Montbéliard in Germany who came over. The British put forth a settlement scheme to bring over German Protestants so that they would take over Lunenburg and areas along the east coast, the Maritimes of Canada. Chris Whitten has a connection back to those. So that was part of Britain's scheme to replace all the people they kicked out. And those people came over in 1753 and maybe a little bit less. A lot of people misconstrue them as Huguenots, but they are not Huguenots. Those are absolutely German Protestants. There were a few Huguenots who were mixed in. There was actually a family named Huguenot who were mixed in. Just because some of the Huguenots went through that area as they were escaping their fate in France. So interesting this morning. And that's why I called Roberta, because Roberta has been blogging. I don't know if you guys follow Roberta's blog, but it's called DNA. You can tell I've been reading it. DNA Explained. And she's been going through a lot of Acadian ancestors, and she's constantly doing this. It's not like she just started doing it either. She was researching these people way back when as well. And over the time, with the Drouin collection becoming available online, have you found, Roberta, that the records that you can find for your Canadian ancestors are more available now? I know that you're the type of person who goes by a courthouse and just dives in a basement window and disappears.
But who told?
Yeah, I have pictures.
I was going, not the police blotter again.
I saw your picture at the post office.
That's right. There's a lot of collections. Druid collection is one of them. There is, because Acadia, the Druid collection is more after they left Acadia, so it's more Quebec. There is the archives, the Acadian Nova Scotia archives has the earliest church parish records there. They started in 1702, so we don't have the early ones. They were destroyed when the British burned the settlement one of several times. So we don't have the early ones, but there's records there. There are the census records, which still exist. Some of the records, like the Beau Basin records, are actually in the La Rochelle archives in France. They were donated back there. So I was there just recently. They didn't let me touch them. But the point is that they're available in a number of places. There are also some very early writings and some historians that are not online that are very interesting and have some of the early records. One of the best things I found is there was a 1707 census, and one of the men who was burned out in one of the English attacks drew the river and drew where the people lived along the river. And so you can see the house, and it says the Moray. It's there are some in there. Yes. Keep scrolling. Not that one. Nope. Keep going. The old ones.
That one.
That one. Okay. It says the Moray, and a Moray is a swamp. It's the swamplands that they diked and drained for farmland. And so what I'm showing here is Abraham Dugas is on his land is at the left here. And then in the census, the Boudreaux is the middle arrow. That's their neighbor, and you can see it in several censuses. And then to the right, over here, the red one, that is Claude Dugas, Abraham's son. So you can, and Abraham was the armorer. He was the king's armorer. So, and the fort, which you can't see, you can see just the very edge of it to the star shape to the bottom left, right there, Megs. That he was the armorer, the gunsmith to the fort. So of course he lived right there across the river. So the things that you can put together, the tidbits here and there, I found these are not yet published. They will be when I get my act together. I found the diary of a lady who happened to be in the woods gathering something and escaped the actual original deportation where they burned her homestead and took her family away, and she came back to nothing, and she wrote about it later, much later.
Wow.
Yeah, I have that. I have one of the captains who loaded the ships. I have part of his record that's in the French archives. I have 2 years later, a captain sailed in the river and talked about seeing the abandoned homesteads and how sad it was. So I have a lot of the historical information that's pieced together and buried in various historical and archival documents, many of which are not in English. So I have to do translating. Do
you do your own translating? I was wondering that.
I do sometimes. I lived in France for a while as a teenager. I had no idea at that time
that you'd be using it. Yeah.
That I had French heritage. I had none. No. I didn't know that. And then I found out I lived places where my ancestors were. It's like, oh, this is just so uncanny. I walked where they walked and I didn't even know it. So anyway, I do some of my own, but one of the things I've been using AI for, ChatGPT, is to do to do at least a first pass, and it will actually recognize handwriting. So I am so happy. Yeah, there's an example. That is in the French archives. It's a 1705 letter from Claude Dugas. He couldn't write, so this had to have been written by the priest. In fact, if you go back and look at the priest's handwriting in the parish registers, it matches this. So I know the priest wrote it.
And beautiful handwriting, clear. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Claude did not he was not able to write, and clearly not read then either, I'm sure. And this letter was written, and so I used ChatGPT to do that translation because and then I went back and verified as best I could. And I do have a friend in the French archives if I get really stuck.
Oh, that helps. You're going to make another trip soon, aren't you?
I am. So the reason I have been writing all these 52 Ancestors articles, and 52 Ancestors started, I'm still mad at Amy Johnson Crow because she suggested this, 6-7 years ago, and I was going to do one a week for 52 weeks. That's why the series is called 52 Ancestors. I'm at 437, I think. So every time I see her, I'm like, I'm still mad at you, and then we have a good laugh because it was
you're doing it. 400.
But it was, when you do one at a time, you're not focused on their parents or their kids or their spouse. You're focused on them and telling their life story, and it's a really different perspective. And then what I do, I take my article, I take the link to it, and I go to the WikiTree person that it is for, and I put it down as a source. And then because I want people to go and read about it, because I have information in that article a lot of times that's not anyplace else, because I've done digging that hadn't been done before, or if it had, it has piecemeal. It's in lots of places but not one place. So so the reason I'm focused on these right now, first of all, is because I went to France on this Acadian trip, and I wanted to know in France where I needed to go. And I just had the most amazing, I'm not a morning person. Megs can vouch for that. I got up before dawn, when it was dark, and I walked the streets of La Rochelle to go to the church where my ancestor was baptized. And I walked it in the morning because no one's out. So it was like I was walking on those cobblestones where Martin would have taken her father, to be baptized the morning she was born. And then the church where he remarried 2 years later after his wife died was about 3 blocks away. And I did have to engage the police because I couldn't find the place.
Well, the police were out looking for street walkers.
Well, and then I realized they had somebody in the back that they'd arrested, and I'm like, hey guys, oh, you know. So they were so funny. They were great though, and then they came back after they deposited their person to make sure I had found it. So they were lovely.
Nice. Well, they were really checking to make sure you weren't climbing through basement windows.
I asked them if they had a key. Swear to God, because I wanted in.
Okay, so Roberta's here because she has such a rich thing. One thing I wanted to point out is when she posts those links to her blogs, there's often information that is not up to date according to her latest research. And I have seen where, and I've been involved with Roberta adding that information and working with the profile managers to update based on the new research that she's been able to put in those profiles. So work in that collaboration, Miss Roberta Estes. We thank you for that.
And you know what, everyone, I can't do it all. I can't do, the genetic research that I'm involved with, and the ancestor research, and update all the WikiTree profiles. So I put it there, so it's there, but anyone is welcome to go in and please do update that information. I write these for everyone. I mean, this is my way of preserving and for honoring those ancestors and making sure their life is recorded.
We should get a challenge going to find all of Roberta's posts on WikiTree and make sure we have integrators who work on the G2G. So they work on integrating information that's posted in our G2G forum, and they take that information and they post the new information to profiles. So maybe we could get the integrators to work, because I know that there's only about 50 million of them on WikiTree, Roberta.
There's 437
at least. Yeah, all of her 52 ancestors times 4 years or whatever. My third great grandfather came over from Prussia, Baden, supposedly via Canada. Can't seem to get great records on his naturalization or marriage in Canada, and thus can't locate his parents either. And this is from Kirby Drake. His wife, Teresa Pierre, was from France, but also came to Canada. It seems they were married in Canada and eventually migrated to Wisconsin, but I can't locate her parents. This is as close as I get to Canadian roots. So I'm assuming that since they went to Wisconsin, they may have been out that direction, maybe Saskatchewan or Manitoba to get across there. You might check in those areas for information. The next one we go, this is for Betsy Coe. Betsy Coates. I'm a rote beginner here. Going to upvote this. Please upvote these answers that you like. I'm a rote beginner here, but yes, my grandmother and also my grandfather, I believe, migrated from Pimlico, Nova Scotia before World War I, or long before I was born in 1960 anyway. I am just starting to work my way backwards, as we all do, to figure out how and when the family arrived here. I'm Dutch, Swedish, and English on that side, my mother's. Anyone is knowledgeable about that area and has time or inclination to share, please feel free to. We don't normally put up these, so that shouldn't be there. So here, let's go in and, we'll ask her to edit that out so we don't give out. And I didn't realize that before now. So hello, question of the week.
Can I interrupt? Because
Yes.
I'm like really excited.
Yes, please.
First of all, Lord is my grandmother's maiden name. It
so
is
mine.
Mine
too.
What?
Mine too.
Oh my God. Okay. So Lord is Acadian. It was Lore. So there are, and I have the Lore DNA project at Family Tree DNA. So we could all be related, number one. And number two, Pimlico is down on the southwest corner of Nova Scotia, and some of the Acadians actually resettled that area, and they're still in a community, and I am going there in 3 weeks. So it is so exciting. So check my blog, because I'm going to be taking pictures as I track my ancestors around Nova Scotia for 3 weeks. I'm going to be writing about it. So I'm going to have pictures of Pimlico, of my settlement there.
I don't think any Mylords came through Canada. I think mine came through Connecticut. They were staunch Pentecostal. Yeah.
Well,
they ended up in Appalachia.
Yeah.
there's multiple lines, and we have some of them represented, different ones in the project. You know, we have
I need to do that. There's a break in the family lines, according to all the other researchers. It goes back through this guy, and other researchers deny that. So I can't even get back long. But do you know that a bunch of my ancestors were Nimrod? They were called Nimrod.
Mine as well.
Forever. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good Appalachian name. So Roberta is free to go, but I have a feeling she's going to hang around and make comments and be funny and have a good time with us for the rest of the time. And I didn't go over too bad.
No, you did great.
I'm going to switch it over to Sandy. Are you going since you're Greg?
Yeah. We'll go next. I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm not going to go through every person that is featured connection this week, but I'm going to go over something a little different because there's some new things to talk about. So the featured connections of the week, Canada. And I'm so glad, Mags, that you started singing "Oh Canada," because, you know, with hockey, we've got to sing both anthems, and I know it by heart. But I cannot sing. So you're the singer here.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all our hearts command. Okay.
I love it. But I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the connection checker. So every Tuesday, we're going to see featured connections, and this week is Canadians, and we're going to go over that in just a minute, just like Greg does. But I wanted to talk to you about how to do the checkers game, how to play it. Actually, a lot of people will go to their profile, and if you scroll all the way down at the bottom, you'll see how you're related and connected to everybody. But everybody is just copying and pasting it into G2G. We want you to actually do something called verify, and that's where the checkers come into play. So you pick one person that's on the featured connections, and you take that step one by one by one by one. I'm going to show, I think Judith's in the chat, and she's rocking it this week. I think she's up to her 5th one that she's going through. But if you notice, she's verified Faye, and she's going to every single profile between her and Faye, make sure that their sources, that the connection is correct. And if it's a source between parents and a child, then a census might work. Sometimes a death certificate lists both. A birth certificate should list both. Sometimes just lists the mother, though. Or, siblings. It could be a census. So that's the way you play checkers. A lot of people think checkers is just copy, paste your connections, but it's actually that plus verifying each one. It does take a little bit because you're looking at sources. You might clean up a little com as you go through. The other question that I found really, really interesting is, and I'm gonna ask you guys, this is a source-a-thon kind of moment. Do you guys know what the big green button is? It's called Challenge Tracker. I know you know it. I let me show you. So if I come over here, I made an edit to this profile. I'm going to hit save. And look, the big
up at the top. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
up at the top. And I always say it's a source-a-thon button for me, but it's also for if you're part of a monthly connectors or sourcers. I know my project has them where you can click. USPH has them as well. But that's what I mean. When you click this, it brings you to a list. And look, connection checkers. You only get 1 point for a phone connection.
Mhm.
So it's not every profile you verify.
Mhm.
It's just every featured connection. So if we have a dozen connections, you could get a dozen points that particular week. But I thought it was really interesting that a lot of people didn't know what the challenge tracker is. And if you don't do the monthly challenges and you do the source-a-thon coming up later this fall, then you will definitely know what that is, that tracker. The other thing I just wanted to show is something else that came out new. And if you go under the person's name, not a living person or not your own profile, but if you go under somebody's name, there's a new feature called Challenge Tracker. This was also posted on G2G. Because how many of you have actually done an edit of a space just to get to the challenge tracker, to get to the scores for the month? I mean, that's like me. So now you don't have to. You could just click on challenge tracker. It brings them all up. And you can see your scoreboards per the particular one. And there you go. Not your profile. It's not going to be on your profile or a living person's profile. But if you have an ancestor that you're working on USBH, working on sourcers, you're working on integrators, as Meg said, you're working on connectors, you're working on checkers, that's how you do it. So I just wanted to mention that. That was a very, very big question that we had throughout. Now, why is this important? Because we're going to talk about the featured connections of the week. And I'm just going to take a select few. If I don't do your favorite, I'm sorry. Please, though, everybody go check out the profiles. I believe Judy was the first, maybe, and in the chat. And I want to just give a shout out to her, Judy Schultz, because I noticed that she's going through almost every single one of these Canadian profiles and jazzed them up a little bit and made them really nice as well.
Isn't Viola one of our people on one of our monies? Yes.
And so, yeah, and Viola is a fascinating woman. So she's actually a civil rights activist in Canada, and she is the first Canadian woman to appear on a banknote. I don't know, which note is it? Is it 10?
I don't carry cash anymore, and I was so pleased to see her. I don't remember what. I think it might be the 10, and maybe it's on there.
It's a beautiful picture, and I want to point out her hair. And I'm sorry to do this because this sounds like really weird for me to point out a woman's hair and things like that. She is not known for her hair, but she is also widely known as being a entrepreneur. And back in her time frame, she was a Black entrepreneur in Canada. She had her own hair salon, and she opened up a school for other Black women to learn how to do the hair that's specific to them. So she's not only a civil rights activist, but she's also known for being a savvy businesswoman. She did do a protest. She went to a theater and she sat in the whites only section. She was arrested. Sadly, though, she did not get the recognition or pardon when she was alive. She passed away in 1965. And it was around 2010 that she received that pardon for a wrongful conviction. Beautiful profile. I'm really impressed. The Canadian Project has really done a great job. Okay.
And she's on the 10. She's on the 10. It was right there in front of us. Yeah.
I love Agnes. Angus, I love everything about this. I had never known this man. This man is fascinating to me. If you love the sea, if you love sailing, if you love boats, anything like that, you're going to love him as well. Definitely take the time to come look at his profile. It to me, it's fascinating because he is just your humble everyday guy to himself. But he was so much more to Canadians. So he was the owner and captain of the famous racing ship. You guys know the name as Canadians?
Where's Greg when I need him?
I know. I was thinking that too. So it's the Blue Nose, which also is on a particular Canadian god. So I love this because he, under his command, the Blue Nose remained undefeated for 17 years. This is just fascinating. If you've done any sailing a little bit or seen sailing racing, 17 years is amazing. He won 5 international fishing schooner races, and the dominance of himself, his crew, and the Blue Nose really gave the Blue Nose a reputation that is just legendary.
Yeah, it is very legendary. It is
around the world. But he's not just a racing champion, and this is what fascinated me so much with him. And I love this. You know, if I won a racing competition 17 years in a row, you would think my ego is pretty good. You know, and we're talking global, international, so you would think my ego would be pretty good. But that wasn't the case. He liked to call himself just an ordinary guy, a fisherman. So when he wasn't racing, he was actually doing in real life work. Does anybody know what in real life work is when we WikiTree? Probably not, because we're WikiTreeing. But then real life work is he was captain of a boat, a fishing boat. That was it. And that's how he made his money. And he was helping to contribute to the economic well-being of Nova Scotia by being that fishing captain. He lost his first wife while he was out at sea. He was not very attentive to his first wife because he was busy with the Blue Nose. Got married the second time and realized
his second wife was called Blue Nose.
And said, I think I better do a little bit better by this. And he's just your reluctant hero. He wasn't particularly interested in fame at all. He was a dedicated sailor, and that's how he wanted to be known, as his dedicated sailor. So a fascinating story. There's links here to go read as well about him and about Blue Nose. Okay, I have to mention Faye, because when I played connection checkers, Faye was my closest connection. So I thought, I'll be really smart. I'm going to be the first one done with connection checkers this week, because Faye was somewhere around 13 degrees to me. And then I got this. I looked at my connection. I realized it goes through my problematic line that has given me nothing but fits. And I know we all have those lines, but as you go through connection checkers, you know, the funny thing that happens, I always tell people every day, every week, indexing. Indexing is always happening and always updating. We're digitizing more and more documents as we go along. And that's kind of what happened. That was, I was looking at Bay for my own connection checkers, documents were updated. And because they were updated, I had to bring the chainsaw out. So she was no longer 13 degrees. As you can see, she's 18. But I was already in it, so you might as well finish it. She was a silent film star and came over to the talkies, which is very, very rare. You might know her from hanging out somewhere at the top of the Empire State Building screaming. She was in King Kong as the actress there. She did not particularly want to be the Scream Queen at the time. She did try out for dramatic and comedic roles, but for somehow she kept getting stuck with the Scream roles that she had. And she had over 90 films, but that was the time when they were churning them out.
Yes.
They were really churning them out. So she reportedly would call King Kong, and I don't know if it was just like a Chewbacca, an actor in a suit, or if it was like a little puppet, or I don't know what it was from the movie time. Maybe Chris Ferriero knows a lot of movies. Maybe he can tell us.
Yeah, it was a puppet.
But she called him all throughout the screening, the filming and the screenings beyond Little Man. King Kong was her little man. And most people don't know that she was a huge advocate for animals and used the King Kong fame to help promote the advocacy for animals.
I hear the Rocky Horror Picture Show song where they talk about Fay Wray every time I hear Fay Wray.
Now you make me want to get my umbrella.
Yeah. Or your raincoat. Yeah.
So it's fascinating to see that she had a long career. She fought through Hollywood, and she came out really well on the other side. So not exactly Jim Henson. That's kind of funny.
But he said it was an early animatronic that they used, but I thought it was still stop frame animation where they stopped the frame and reposed, and
that's what I thought too, because it was real kind of stuttered.
Yeah, it was. But she didn't stutter.
No, she screamed.
She just screamed.
And then we're coming in next to Donald Sutherland. This was a hard week. You know, he passed away recently, and this was kind of a surprise to me. And this was a hard week. I love him in a lot of things. I remember him from MASH. I remember him from a lot of other things. But for some reason, I cannot get his kind of jovial sarcasm and jovial laugh from Pride and Prejudice. And I don't know. His acting in that just really felt real. It felt like that's who he really was. So if you guys have a favorite Donald Sutherland movie or show, let us know in the chat as well.
I liked him when he was the guy who was the one who would go out and steal stuff. It was in a war movie.
Yeah.
And I liked that character the best for him. I've forgotten which movie that was. Not Kelly's Heroes. What?
I know. It's in there, but I can't think of it. Oh, and this is interesting. So Judy, thank you. I see you're in chat. So thank you for working on these Canadian profiles as well. And she was closest to Donald when I first started on WikiTree.
Oh.
Interesting. So I guess that has changed a little bit as it's going on. Very interesting. We did a YouTube short.
Dirty Dozen
on him.
It was the Dirty Dozen.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Lynette.
If you go up to WikiTree's YouTube and go to the shorts, we did a short on him last week in honor of his career and his life. I wish Greg was here because this is going to be kind of funny too. I think the longest Saturday roundup was the one with Doctor Who. And now we have a connection because we're going to try and beat that. But he had a brush with Doctor Who. He was actually offered the role of Wyatt Earp in a 1963 Doctor Who episode, but could not take it due to other commitments. He hasn't anything about him. He's a dual degree. He was going to be an engineer. So he received a degree in engineering and a degree of drama from the University of Toronto. And I want everybody to think about this for a second. A degree in engineering is tough.
Yeah.
It is not easy. And a degree in drama, if you don't have it, you're going to struggle.
Well, in The Dirty Dozen, he was a dramatic engineer.
So he combined those two roles. And he, out of everything he's done, he's never received an Academy Award.
People over in the chat are posting their favorite movies. So that's
I love
fun.
that.
Yeah.
And I agree, Dan. I remember MASH. I just remember him in the hat in MASH going in the tent.
Mhm.
The very odd thing about him, and I don't act, but I don't think I could do this, is he preferred to film the opening scenes of a movie last.
Oh.
And it's the oddest thing because he believed it helped him better set the tone for the audience. I don't quite get that. I don't quite understand it, but it worked for him because we love his movies. Okay, so moving on. This is a beloved one that somebody asked to make sure that I showed, and it's David
Suzuki.
And he had a famous show. He was a longtime broadcaster in Canada, right?
I think everybody would have all Canadians would have the same reaction as seeing his name as, "Oh, David Suzuki."
He was an environmentalist, a scientist, a broadcaster, award-winning activist as well. He was host of the CBC television show, The Nature of Things. He had a love and a passion for the environment, and he thought the best way to educate and teach that to the humans was through children. So he was a prolific writer. He actually authored or co-authored over 50 books, primarily directed towards children.
He is still alive. It's present.
Oh, well, the reason why I said that, thank you for telling me that. The reason why I say that is because his legacy, I guess still alive, legacy is his foundation, the David Suzuki Foundation, that his daughter now runs. Is he still doing TV shows?
He was on something the other night that I saw. But I don't know if he's still doing new versions, but he's still around. Let me double check myself.
The one phrase that he is kind of known for that he advocates is what we do to the planet and its living creatures, we do to ourselves.
Yes. Yeah, he's still alive.
He's still alive. I'm glad to hear it, David. Okay, let me move on because this one's kind of exciting and kind of tragic at the same time. So for your sports fans out there, we've got the race car driver. I had to include the
Joseph Henri Villeneuve.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So what is kind of fascinating about him, he has started racing with snowmobiles. So that's how he got his start, and that's what he's kind of got this nickname of the Flying Frenchman. He's not French. He's not France. He is from Canada, but he was known for his aggressive driving style and willingness to take risks on the track. And if you've ever seen him drive, I would say that sentence I just said was an understatement. I mean, I don't know how somebody has the courage to drive the way he did and still continue to drive day after day. His son Jax came into the business as well and started driving. And sadly, in 1982 at the Belgian Grand Prix, he was in a fatal accident. And that was partly due to a lot of his aggressiveness that he had. And then I thought I would share, this is not on the connections of the week, but I thought I would share who my favorite Canadian is.
Besides me?
No.
No.
Mags, you can have coffee at Tim's every single morning.
I'm going to go have a biscuit and coffee at Tim's in just a few minutes. And Roberta, we've been doing all this crazy stuff talking about connections, and I'm sitting here thinking, poor Roberta doesn't have any idea what we're doing. And so I'm going to show Roberta real quick. I'm going to take your screen for just a sec and get rid of Greg.
Aw. Oh, Greg, I try.
So Roberta, this is a list at the very bottom of your profile that shows the Canadian notable connections, that whatever the notable connections are for the week that we talk about on the broadcast, this is where they are. And so yours closest is Georges Etienne Cartier. And let's see if you're really connected to him. No absolute connection there for you, like biological, but you can go through. Let's see if Fay Ray is.
I'm
your
glad
connection.
you brought him
Look,
up. He wrote "Oh Canada."
Cartier?
Yep.
See, you knew something about Canada I didn't know. So you're related to Fay Ray. She's your 7th cousin, twice removed. And sometimes these connections can be like an AJ Jacobs connection where you go through your first cousin's sisters, boyfriends, mothers, whatever. But you're absolutely related to her, so that's cool. So I wanted to show that to you, Roberta, so you didn't feel left out.
Thank you. I was actually trying to figure out when you did that how I was related to Gil, because St. Jean sur Richelieu is where all my family was. I'm like, we've got to be, but we're not.
23rd cousin once removed.
Yeah, wow.
And you've got a great-great-grandmother, Deguine and Hugh de la Marche.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So we'll figure that out. But
all right.
Thank you for showing me the easy way to get there.
You're welcome.
I want to mention with Greg, if anybody does not know, which I'll be surprised, Greg is the one who came up with the fan chart, designed the fan chart and the super fan. Also, there is a genealogy game that you can play kind of associated with the fan that is really fun. You think you know your ancestors. We'll see. If you're doing DNA citations, I always send always send people to Greg's DNA citation maker.
Which is going to be updated here soon. It's there's a new version of it coming out that's going to prevent some of the issues that are happening with people putting in, users can put in their own information. And so we're going to have a cutoff on the amount of centimorgans, and there's lots more coming with the DNA confirmation out. And Greg's going to be announcing that
so
soon.
Glad you mentioned that, because if you don't know what we're talking about with DNA, this is your handy tool. And you kind of learn as you go along. But as you guys know, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Greg showed it off. This is one of my favorite things, his photo lines. I love his
photo lines.
I know. So I've got my separate ones just like he does at the top 2 on my profile. Very easy to do. So if you have pictures on your profile of your ancestors, this will pick up the line, and it gives you a couple options too that you can change to use different pictures. You can only do so many ancestors. Lots of options. But I think that it was interesting when Roberta was talking about walking the streets, walking that street and sitting quietly in that village, in the church. I think that's what all of us dream to do, to walk the steps of our ancestors.
Yeah.
And to do that is one thing, but if you also have their photo, there's a connection there as you're walking along where your ancestors walked, and you've got their photo in your mind. The other cool thing that I like about his photo lines is you can kind of see how people look. So who does Greg resemble the most? And I kind of like looking at that too. I don't know if you guys are real good at this. When somebody has a baby, and you see it 5 days old, and they go, "Oh, I think it looks like the mom. I think it looks like the dad." And I'm like, I have no clue. But with these photos, you can kind of see, who does Greg look like the most?
I think he looks a lot like a combination of his biological mother and father.
I do too.
Yeah.
I see his grandfather William. I see some in there.
Yeah.
But the nose, look at the nose between his dad and himself. It looks close too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you could just kind of see. So if you've got you see the names. If you come across somebody's profile that has these photos, you can see the names as well and say, oh.
I wish Greg was here to see that he is one of the Canadians in our. So how many people have a connection to Greg?
Well, I got to tell you, he let me do the Appalachian 2 weeks ago, so I figured I owe him a payback. So there you go. And that is the week of Featured Connections, Tuesday.
And it's only 11 o'clock. Roberta, I know you have an appointment, so if you need to run, don't be afraid to pop on out. So,
and I'll turn it over to Betsy.
All right. Well, we have another week of music photos. Let me share my screen. I think this one is just a great one to start out with.
That's from Celia.
Yes, Celia Marsh. The only instrument I can be trusted with, a kazoo. She went to a school with a kazoo-based fight song. I'm very curious what school that is. Adorable. Thank you, Celia. This next one is from Donna Lancaster, and it's her mother, Ruby Lancaster. Her mother, Ruby Aveline Stone. She taught herself to play guitar, mandolin, and piano using shape notes such as those that are used in sacred harp music. She played in church, played and sang along with her father. And Donna says she never got to hear her play mandolin, but she instilled in me a lifelong love of music and singing that led her to try out for choirs and musicals and in her school years. So she just looks so happy there.
She does.
So, yeah. Thanks, Donna.
She looks like a Carter family, doesn't she, man?
Yeah.
The dress and the hair. Yeah. This one, I mean, now I'm a band geek, so I have to love a good concert band photo. This looks like it's a newspaper clipping. Yes, newspaper clipping from 1967.
Look at all the mini skirts, though. There's lots of leg in that picture.
It's the Mission Secondary School Concert Band in Mission, British Columbia, Canada. This is John Thompson's photo, and his wife, who was then at the time Kathleen Wagner, grade 10, is center in the front row of 5, a flutist, woo, and blonde hair and black shoes with her right foot crossed behind her left. So there's no way that we can miss who Kathy.
Right there.
He is right here. Love it. All right. Let's see. Now this one is from
banjo.
Doug McCown. And it's, I was looking on the Free Space page. There's actually no duplicates, but the title of this photo is Clifford Rose with Banjo. Here is a photo of my grandmother's mom and siblings. While I never heard him, I understand her brother played that homemade banjo for years. They lived in Lawrence County, Ohio, in Crown City. I don't know for sure that this photo was taken in Crown City, but I believe it was. And we've got a date there. We've got some handwriting. Oops. Let's see. Beautiful house. I love the porch. So yeah, we're identifying people. 1916. Looks like there was some back and forth about the date.
Do they name the dog?
I can't tell. Let's see. There's that person, that little person.
Look at those bare feet.
Mm-hmm. It almost looks like this says
Rex.
Dog. I don't know.
Dog. The banjo player is in his Sunday best.
He sure is.
He's got his knickers on, his socks. And his sister over on the far end, it seems to be in her Sunday best.
Yep. just some of the younger children,
Yeah.
not so much. Yeah. Yeah. Love that. That photo's a real treasure. So thank you, Doug. And then this is from Chris Wine. Yes. So for this first one, for her sister's 61st birthday, I surprised her with a meet and greet with her favorite group, Home Free. What a fantastic idea.
And I love that group too, by the way, Chris. You can surprise me.
So
That's
she
a great gift.
Yeah, she was able to. They just happened to be singing at the Stark County Fair that year, and I happened to know the person giving away the tickets. It's good to be connected.
Yeah.
I had also written the bank earlier that year, asking them if they could allow. Oh, I've written the band earlier that year.
I was like, bank.
It is bank, but I think we mean band.
She can surprise me with that too.
Right to bank.
Asking them if they could allow my sister to meet with them for her 61st birthday, as her 60th birthday was terrible, as our mother had passed 14 days before.
Nice.
So what very, very unforgettable birthday gift, I'm sure.
And I will say too, if you ever want to hear Country Roads sing like a gospel song, listen to their version. It'll blow you away.
And then here is Chris, freshman year band.
Oh, Ginger.
Yeah.
Were you? Who was in band? I wasn't in band. Were you guys in band?
Oh yeah, I
was going to say you'd have to be with your musical.
Sure. Have I? Now I was thinking as I was looking at this photo, have I ever shown a picture of me as a teenager holding a saxophone?
I don't think so.
Okay. I will have to share that at some point.
I don't know that there are any pictures of me holding a flute, a trumpet, or anything.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. It's probably a good thing.
Well, this picture of me that I'm referencing is slightly embarrassing. It was anyway, another time, maybe June of next year. So that year we had gone to the Rose Bowl. Instead of marching with the band, I got to hold the banner. So I'm not sure which one is Chris, but there they are. Jackson High School, Canton, Ohio.
Nice.
That's a big deal too. For those that don't know, the role of having high school bands go to the Rose Bowl, I don't know if it still is, but it was.
It is. It's still a big deal. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. What an honor. I think I'd almost, if I had to pick with that performance opportunity, I'd rather hold the banner. You get a great view.
You don't have to play.
Well, you could, you can pay.
You don't have to march and play, which was always fun.
Megs, did you have, well, you might not have, when you played the flute, did you have to use one of those underarm lyres, or did you?
I didn't play the flute in marching band ever. Only in concert band.
Yeah.
My favorite instrument for marching band was the E-flat alto horn.
Oh, why? Why?
You're carrying that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it was easiest for the trumpet. It's so long and it was, I enjoyed playing it, but the E-flat alto horn was kind of like a part of your body as you were marching and stuff.
Oh, that's a good reason. Yeah. Okay, so Irish John is not with us this morning. I
was looking for John earlier.
Oh, he sent me a message earlier to send his regrets. He is at a fete for his church, which directly conflicted time-wise, but he let me know that he had posted this photo. Now, this is his maternal Welsh great-grandfather, William Cecil Williams. He was a professor of music and church organist. Sounds like Greg.
Where's Greg?
I know. St. Mary's Church in Tenby, Pembrokeshire, for many years. My grandparents also got married there. Also, my grandmother's aunt. He can't find the photo right now, but she was a professional contralto singer and married the son of the famous Welsh composer Joseph Parry. So very, very musical.
We're going to have to call him Welsh John.
Instead of Irish John?
Yeah, might have to. He is great at researching in Wales. I'll say that. He's helped me many times.
And here's one from a photo from somebody who hasn't contributed before, as I can remember. This is Richard Ameling. And I think I saw that he's in the Netherlands because I looked at the photo itself. A bad picture of me playing guitar.
Any picture with a guitar is not bad.
I don't think that's bad at all. I love that.
I do. And he said to me, I think I did it wrong. And I wrote back and I said, no, you did everything. All looks great. So
Come back and post again, Richard.
Yeah, for sure. And then this last one is from Amanda Myers. And she writes, this is not from my family, but from many others. The 200, I'm not sure what the number is. It's the Australian Infantry Battalion Band. Sadly, 18 of the 25 band members were captured by the Japanese in New Guinea during World War II, and they died together with over 100 prisoners of war when the trooper ship Montevideo Maru was sunk on the 1st of July, 1942.
Wow.
That's sad.
Very tragic.
I have my instrument here.
Wait. I would switch over to see. I'll watch the video later to see. I'm enjoying the audio. So it was really nice to have a real rush of pictures in the fifth week of a photo theme. So thank you everyone for that. And next week we're in July and switching over to a new photo theme, which is military, police, and firefighter. So July 1 is Monday. So our photo team will get a new post up in G2G. And in the meantime, you can be looking for your photos along that theme. So we have 2 ancestors to celebrate this month. Let me get organized for that. 1 second. Need 2 devices. Okay. So I think, is Shonda in the chat? I think I saw Shonda. Am I right?
I'm not sure.
No.
I don't think I've seen Shonda.
Oh, okay.
Unless
Well,
she snuck in.
Maybe. Okay. So we want to celebrate Shonda's late husband, Steve Feather, who was born in June. So that's linked to June. And he was, he first served in Vietnam, where he was Army Special Forces and G2 intelligence. And then he later went on to, I think, yeah, here we go. He was the youngest police chief ever in California, where he really had a fantastic reputation for championing against police violence and making sure that everyone under his supervision was doing their job in the right way. And he met Shonda in 1992, and they enjoyed drives, camping, hiking, and music. There's some beautiful pictures here on the profile. And then she wrote, "We had 25 amazing years together before he passed away from brain cancer 7 years ago. 25 years was not enough time to spend with my soulmate. I miss him dearly."
Aww.
Yeah. And she said, the kind of partner every woman would dream of. Love notes in her lunch, flowers to work. So thank you.
She brings up a really good point. If you guys have things like that, put them up there, because if you don't, no one will see them.
Right.
And I think it helps explain, as she said, her soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
It explains the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, this profile, it's Feather 402 is, well, as Shonda does a beautiful job on all profiles, but this one really tugs at the heartstrings. So please visit Steve's profile. And our second profile is Donna Lancaster's father, Thomas. Now his connection is also a birthday. Born June 20th, 1920 in Delta City, Charlotte County, Mississippi. And let's see. He was the second of 6 children, 5 boys and two girl and 1 girl. Money was tight in the family. Actually, what I will do is we have some very cool photos on this one. So I'm just going to go to the photos. And so Donna writes, money was tight in the family, so he joined the Civilian Conservation Corps, so there was one less mouth to feed. World War II came calling, so he joined the U.S. Army Air Force and began his military career in the Medical Corps. He wasn't particularly fond of the Corps, so when his platoon leader asked for volunteers one day, Dad stepped forward without even knowing what he was volunteering for. Turns out he became one of the first sea divers for the AAF.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Look at
going the opposite. Yeah, that's going the opposite direction than air.
Yeah. Yeah. So very, very, I mean, this is, I guess this is not her dad, but this is a really good photo of what he had to wear. Look at those shoes. Oh my goodness.
Man,
I bet they were full of lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got lead weights. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. You want to know something interesting too that I don't think she shared. She shared with project members, and this kind of speaks to you never know what you're going to learn in a project Discord. So join a project. We have another. She's an Appalachian. We have another Appalachian in there, and she shared these photos that she said she was posting them this week, and another Appalachian was talking and said, wait a second, where was your dad stationed in what years? Come to find out, this other person's grandfather was stationed at the same place, same time as Donna's father, and they worked in a similar, not the same unit, but similar units.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would never know if Donna had said, I'm going to post the pictures on
there. Too many coincidences in the world, really. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So here he is. I'm not sure what the date is on this photo. Well, this is at the Eglin Air Force Base.
Yeah.
Okaloosa, Florida. There he is. And then, so after the war, he returned to farming until the 1950s when he could no longer make a living at it. He ventured up to a few spots in the Midwest, short stint at Caterpillar, and then landed in Illinois at Warwick Incorporated. This company made TVs for major retailers such as Sears, and he learned skills there, and that became his career. Her dad moved her mom and 2 brothers up to Illinois finally, and several years.
There we go.
There's Donna. An unexpected bonus, she writes.
And that was a hillbilly highway family.
Yeah. And there he is in later years.
Aww.
So thank you so much, Donna and Shonda, for sharing. And I will
you can just feel the love in both those profiles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That is great. Do we have a tip of the week?
Not today.
No, well, I did show Roberta how to find her connections, so that was basically the tip of the week.
Well, and I think Sandy also with the challenge connection.
That is so true.
Yeah, I'm going to be using that.
So we no longer have to hit his space to save the profile to get to the button.
So that's the week that was, but we're going to talk about the week coming up. Let me go back to my screen here. We're going to start off with the social media links. If you go to the Ambassadors Project, scroll down and click on, there's a sub tabs header there. You can click on social media, and you see the beautiful Rat Pack member Thomas McKenty still is our challenge coming up. So June 27th through the 4th. The cemetery spotlight is New Paltz Rural Cemetery. Not sure where that is. It looks quite pastoral there. Question of the week will be coming out on Monday or Tuesday. The one name study is herring. Is that for all the fish in the world, or are there people really named herring? Connection Checkers is going on Tuesday. And if you want to share any of this stuff, you can find these links and share it to your social media. One place Wednesday is Lancenfred Glen Conley Dingbigshire.
Good job, Mags.
Yeah, good job.
That gave me an asthma attack. I believe that's going to be in Wales. Just pretty sure about that.
All those consonants.
Yeah, WikiTree Plus coming up with Alesh, Ask Alesh. Project Showcases, the Connect-a-thon, which is coming up in July. And then the Hollywood Walk of Fame Spotlight. That should be pretty interesting.
I know. Who are we going to pick? We got to pick somebody this week. You guys have suggestions?
And what's going on Friday night?
Two bingos. I got to tell you, the first one at noon Eastern is fascinating. What we do is we take the space pages. If you have a space page that you've worked tremendous amount on, not one place study, not one name study or anything like that, your own personal space page, contact me, because we will bring you on to bingo so you can explain in detail the space page. But this one WikiTreer has taken his conversations with his father, that was born in Poland through World War II, and documented it. So it's called the War Chronicles. And the space page is amazing with photos and details. So definitely check on that. Mm-hmm. And I know David's in the chat, so I don't know if he'll let me tell you the theme for the 6 p.m. Eastern one. But the only thing I can maybe give you a guess, and David can kind of smack my wrist later, is Lion Tamer.
All right. Mm-hmm. Meet Our Members is coming up on Saturday. And of course, Saturday morning, you'll be back here with us. Saturday Roundup. So that's fun.
And Greggy will be back.
And Greg will be back. Let's check out. Let me go to my questions real quick.
Sandy, you have permission. I
have permission?
Yes.
It's circus. It's everything to do with circus. And we kind of slide in some Wild West shows and sideshows performers and everything like that. But we've curated an amazing list.
Nice. There is a new page design coming out that they've been working on. Mm-hmm. And it's a way to streamline things a little bit, make things easier to use less user server space. And this is what it looks like. So it'll be a lot different than what we're used to. Mm-hmm. But I also think it's a little bit easier to read.
I agree.
And information. So that's what it'll look like. Lots of work's been going into that over the past little while. Let's go back again, go back to the questions. And what I'm really looking for is, have you registered for the 2024 July Connect-a-thon? If not, you need to get that done. WikiTree Challenge 9, we mentioned that with Thomas McKenty. Play Connection Checkers. Oh, Canada.
Thank you. I needed that.
You need that?
I love that song.
Did you notice the DNA-related changes? There are some changes that have happened. Check that out with the DNA. And I don't see a post about what's happening around the tree, but we handled that in the social media. And that is the way things have gone for us this week. You guys have a great Canada Day. And coming up just after Canada Day, that little thing heading down south, the July the 4th is coming up as well. And we'll probably see something about that next week on our live cast. You guys have a great week, and we will see you again soon.
Happy WikiTree.